Hey everybody. I'm back from my Thanksgiving vacation, seeing family who like to watch Fox News 24/7. When interacting with family that have different political opinions of mine, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. You don't ask to, you know, change the channel on someone's TV that's not yours. And so I was inundated with a lot of, opinions that I don't hold. That's fine. That's what I expect at Thanksgiving these days. But there was something that I saw that drew my attention. There was a movie that was being promoted in one of the segments on Fox News, and it was called The Fall of Minneapolis. And it is about the incident where George Floyd was killed by Derek Chauvin, and it was also about the aftermath of what has happened to Minneapolis after that, and uh, biases up front. Okay, you all know that I'm pretty lefty. If you've been watching my channel, and just this is from the same week that that incident happened. This is my sketch of George Floyd, as an artist, and so that's pretty much all you need to know about me to know about my bias in this situation. I went ahead and artistically went ahead and did that. So there's my bias, right? We're straight. I'm lefty. The makers of this film, of course, like everything else that is alt right, they say that they're independent, or like they started making the film just as journalists, and then they found all this stuff that made them take the positions that they did and whatnot. I don't buy any of that, from any media, but this is the presentation of this film. It's completely independently done by a. It's an Alpha News original film produced by Liz Collins, people that I've never heard of before. They've got this uh, hit movie now as far as view count. You can see the view count on Rumble is at like 2 million. You don't know how many times it's been played on their own website. But many people have seen this, and it's been promoted in segments on Fox News with interviews and just talking about it. So uh, I decided that after watching it, I would give you guys this review so that you would have more context. And that was weird because what I was interested in this movie for in the first place was the additional context that it had with extra body cam footage and camera footage that I'd never seen before, and it really delivered on all that. It really did in a good way, right? And it had interviews with police officers from the precinct that was set on fire after George Floyd's death, and in the aftermath with the riots. So I got to learn a lot from the movie, but here's where I feel like the movie fell short. And this is probably because of its bias. It shows the body cam footage strung together in a very good way where you don't miss a beat. Like anytime where there's a better angle on something, they switch to that angle. So you see like the entire arrest from the time the policeman gets into the store, and the guy at the store points out the car and where the guy is, and they walk up to the car, from that point to taking him out of the car and putting him on the side of the building, to then trying to take him across the street, put him in the police car, and then there was just there was a struggle there getting him into the back of the police car, so they take him out and they put him on the ground, all the way up to uh, the procedure where Derek Chauvin put his knee on the back of George Floyd on the neck area, right? And they call it the MRT, the maximum restraint technique in this film. and that is the technique that they were doing. They one of them actually said it. He said MRE, but like he meant MRT, right? So that's what they were trying to do. The training that they had done before, same thing that they had said that they were trying to do when all this stuff happened. So also in this footage, right up to that point, you hear as they're putting him down, like within 30 seconds, one of them calls for a paramedic, right? They call for an ambulance. This really does matter because when you look at Derek Chauvin went away for murder for 22 years in the end, right? Uh, the other officers, what they were actually like found guilty of, and it's weird, they were found guilty of keeping him from getting George Floyd from getting medical attention. That's what they were sentenced on. I'm like, you know, there also in the film after this point, it talks about how one of the first responder trucks, it was a fire truck, uh, it went to the wrong place, and this was not allowed in Derek Chauvin's trial to be part of the evidence that was admitted. And I'm like, what? I mean, it kind of is part of the story, you know. Also, not allowed in evidence. They interviewed Derek Chauvin's mom, who she had these training manuals that had this technique, the MRT technique, and you open it up and you look at uh, the figure for it, and it definitely looks just like Derek Chauvin putting his knee on George Floyd's neck. I mean, I talked to, because of the people that I was with during Thanksgiving, I talked to somebody who is actually a prison guard in an adjacent state, and he said that in his state, what Derek Chauvin did would be considered use of lethal force, right? But one state over, this is in their training manual, it looks just like that, right? Now, granted, you're not supposed to just learn a technique from a picture, because obviously, if you did and you follow in this picture, you're going to end up killing somebody because that's what happened, right? But you should, in practice, like when I say practice, I mean like not just like when you're doing it on your job, but like when you're practice in training, right? You should hands-on train to do these things where you're not killing people, right? That's what I would figure. But what also was not allowed in Derek Chauvin's trial, shown in this movie, was that there was a PowerPoint slide with a picture on it showing how to do this MRT technique, and it also had a completely separate picture of someone putting their knee on someone's neck. And this is the training slide from the training that Derek Chauvin would have gone to on how to do MRT. So like, there's a lot of evidence here that this actually is part of their training, right? Now, the chief of police in the trial, he there's footage of him saying, that's not the way we do things. That is not the proper technique. And then it shows an interview of all the police officers uh, that they had from that precinct that was burned, and how all of them felt that that police chief let down not just Derek Chauvin in his murder trial, but all the police, because they say he was lying, that actually was how they were trained. This is important, in my opinion, from the left, from my perspective on the left, in that if this is the training that they were doing, it needs to be changed. And the precinct itself, not just like Derek Chauvin and all, but like the precinct itself needed to be liable for the death. Now, of course, the city settled with the family for a good sum of money. It was like 23 million, but that never got to a civil litigation because of that settlement. But if it had, and the fact that that is actually how the police were trained, were presented in the evidence, that would have been weird, considering that it wasn't even allowed into evidence during Derek Chauvin's trial. So um, I am more of a proponent that the jury needed to see everything that wanted to be presented by both sides. Just give them all information, and let the jury figure it out, and don't curate it first, because that curation by the judge really does have its thumb on the scale of justice. Now, that's my opinion. Just put it all out there. That being said, watching this movie and how they took the footage, the body cam footage from multiple police officers, all the way up to the point where the knee is placed on the neck, it cuts off there, right? So this film that's supposed to give you that extra oomph, that extra knowledge that you didn't have before, the whole 8 minutes and 46 seconds of the knee on the neck that killed him is absent from the film. It just stops right there. So I would say, in order to remedy that, if you're watching this film and you're wanting to get the best vantage point, like the best amount of information, at the 20 minutes and 47 seconds point where they stop giving you footage of the George Floyd arrest, before they stop 8 minutes before he's dead, right? Go ahead and find the Darnella Frazier footage of George Floyd's death, because she was filming right there. She got awarded by the Pulitzer Prize people for this footage, for whipping out her cell phone and filming it. Right. This is very important footage. That's how important it is. You can find it like on the YouTube channel for the New York Times. You can find a whole bunch of different people, putting that footage in, doing commentary. But just watch the 8 minutes and 46 seconds right after they cut off their coverage of the body cam footage, which was well done up until that point, right? Watch that 8 minutes, 46 seconds, and then the rest of this movie that is an hour and 42 minutes long. The rest of it, the hour and 22 minutes left, it just puts it all into way better perspective, because it was horrible, and you can't get away from that. And that's what the jury was seeing. And if you don't look at the 8 minutes and 46 seconds, you're just not going to be informed. And when I see 2 million views on Rumble, I'm like, wow, these people watched an ad on Fox News, watched the movie, and now they are only informed from this right-leaning perspective of these cops got done dirty, and now the city of Minneapolis is hurt. To the tune of, at the point of this film, like 3 years later, uh, 380 cops less work for the city of Minneapolis, and other precincts near them have to like cover their beat and donate time from their precincts, because they just can't get people to join the police force in Minneapolis. You know, so that being said, the other bit of context that I feel really is pertinent to this situation is the same week that this film hits the internet, Derek Chauvin's in prison in Arizona, already serving his sentence, and he gets stabbed in prison, right? which happened right after the film was released, so that there was no chance for them to put this in the film at the time. They might edit the end and say, PPS, postscript, like this also happened. It's just going to make it harder for them to recruit police officers into the Minneapolis Police Department. When this guy who is doing as he was told, like the Nuremberg trial, we were just following orders. He was doing as he was told, and he didn't think about what all those bystanders obviously saw. He was sure that his training was correct and that he needed to have his knee on that guy's neck, right? When the police there, the potential police recruits there in Minneapolis are thinking about, do I want to join this police department? They're probably thinking the mayor doesn't have the back of the police. The police chief will lie on the stand in order to, not create another riot. Probably he was probably thinking about what his words would do in the court of public opinion. And then, you know, there's training that is substandard that is going to get you possibly arrested for murder. Why would you want to join that police department? So now, the film is called The Fall of Minneapolis. Like, an hour of the film is just about the aftermath of what it's done to the police department and what it's done to the community, and how crime rates are up. And I looked into that part just independently of the film, just looking on what I could find on Google, right? And there are conflicting reports. Like you see, like in reputable places, the crime rate is way higher than the national average, and then you see their politicians saying on TV that the crime rate has actually gone down when they have half as many police officers as they used to. It's just really. um, but yeah, I would say if you're on the right and you thought that this movie was informing you, the two things you need to see would be, uh, Derek Chauvin got stabbed. Just look it up on any news site that you feel comfortable with. Just get those facts. But also, watch the 8 minutes and 46 seconds right after they cut off their body cam footage. The movie goes on to try to make the argument that at this one point when Darnella Frazier is filming and you see Derek Chauvin's neck being crushed by, or sorry, George Floyd's neck being crushed by Derek Chauvin's knee. If you look at this other angle from one of the other police officers, it actually shows that his knee is on the shoulder blade, and it's just a camera trick of like perspective, right? No, no, fuck no, they're fucking lying. I don't care if they say that they synced up the video and this is the other angle. Look right at it. On Darnella Frazier's footage, she's moving. You get some different angle to it. That knee is on his neck the whole fucking time, and that's what killed him. That he was held there like that. Um, they go into all of the other contextual things about George Floyd's health. They bring up footage of previous arrests of his, and the similarities that were had with the resisting of the arrest, and the story that he had that he'd been shot the time before. They talk about all of that in this film, and that's something that I hadn't seen before. So I was happy to get all this extra information, but watching the whole thing, I just felt like it was blaringly obvious at 20 minutes and 47 seconds into their movie when they stopped the footage right at the point where the knee went onto the neck. And they did not show the actual death footage that everyone on the left has seen. Everyone who feels like me and has their own way of coping with what happened. We all watched that footage, and we weren't spoon-fed all of the extra information of why George Floyd was a bad person, attacking the victim here. Yeah, he committed a crime right before that, and he was being arrested for that crime. But he did not deserve to die for trying to pass off a fake $20 bill. Police officers aren't judge, jury, and executioner on the spot like Judge Dredd. So that's my take on the film The Fall of Minneapolis. It's not hard to find on the internet, but they seem to prefer where documentaries of the same ilk reside on Rumble, because they don't want to be in a place like YouTube where they might have little fact check blurbs all over their film. But honestly, I did enjoy the experience of seeing where these right-leaning people were going with all of the additional context they were trying to add. And I will say that I took away from the training of the police aspect of their film something that they probably weren't intending. Where I'm like, I'm agreeing with them that well, if that's the training that they got, the training needs to be changed. They really need to look at all police training across the whole country, and that's probably not what those filmmakers were wanting someone to come away with. That's what I came away with, was holy fuck, they're going to kill some more people if we don't just look at all the police training all over the country, which I know has happened in many precincts. But that's all. Hope you guys enjoyed this review, and also I hope that you enjoyed your Thanksgiving meal wherever you had it, and the fights were kept to a minimum, and nobody got stabbed at the dinner table, hopefully. All right, laters.